We all know that the meathead is a central and core figure in anime. You have Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z, Bakugo from My Hero Academia, Asta from Black Clover, and a man with a boar mask who fights regenerating demons at nighttime. Yeah, that's Inosuke. For those of you new to the channel, my name is Dill, and it's my mission to explore the very depths of all that anime has to offer. If you enjoy this content and want to support the channel, consider liking the video, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell so you never miss when a new video is posted. So without further ado, let's waste no time and jump into the character analysis of the boar-faced nutjob that is Inosuke Hashibita. To start, we're introduced to Inosuke as the loudmouth, arrogant demon slayer who's slashing up demons as he sees fit and beating up on Zenitsu during their first meeting.
I have lost the ability to scream. I no longer have a purpose.
Right off the bat, Godoke sets Inosuke up to be everything that our main protagonist isn't. He's rude where Tanjiro's polite, arrogant while Tanjiro's humble, and narrow-minded where Tanjiro's accepting and understanding. In almost every way, Inosuke acts as almost like a foil to Tanjiro, showing us where Tanjiro may have ended up if he didn't come from such a loving and caring family environment. And speaking of family, the one that Inosuke was brought up by were actually a group of boars. Raised in this environment, this brutal upbringing has made Inosuke literally built different, able to contort his body in all sorts of crazy ways, shift around his internal organs to avoid damage, and has his sense of touch so keen that he developed an entire breath style around this. But as is a common theme in Demon Slayer, the exterior of a person doesn't paint the entire picture of who they are deep down. On a surface level, Inosuke has a beautiful face despite opting to wear his boar mask almost at all times. While this may seem like an eccentric character design, it symbolizes the isolation that Inosuke goes through and his path towards becoming accustomed to living amongst people. What Inosuke truly needed all along was camaraderie and the joy of friends around him. You see, Inosuke is an interesting character since Gotoge depicts him as almost being from like a different universe. He thinks differently, acts differently, and for all intents and purposes is completely different from every character that we meet throughout the story. Even his Nichiren blades, which demon slayers hold in such high regard, Inosuke simply chips them because he thinks that they'll just do extra damage that way, which for the record isn't true at all, but hey, this is anime, so I'm here for it. What I think is beautiful about Inosuke's character arc and what I'm going to talk about through his moments in the story is that he learns what it means to be human and to have someone other than himself to fend for and care about. And instead of acting on straight impulse, which is all he had to do his entire life up until meeting the main cast, his character arc centered around finding his humanity, which is a theme I found to be absolutely beautiful. After getting to know the main cast and transitioning into the Naragumo Mountain arc, we get further insight into Inosuke's line of thought when it comes to battle. He's someone who's constantly living in the moment without really a care in the world. Furthermore, he's a character who's constantly in the present with no regard for his past, which is a huge irony given he's someone with one of the saddest and most tragic backstories that molded him into the person he is. Through his fight with the father spider demon, Inosuke begins to work with Tanjiro to incorporate teamwork in their strategy, which despite seeming like a simple thing is a huge step forward in Inosuke's overarching character arc. Despite suffering a huge amount of damage during this battle, he even swallows his pride and apologizes to Tanjiro for being so weak in the first place. Mind you, this is a character who during his introduction was too ignorant to understand he was attacking a defenseless Zenitsu protecting a demon that his friend Tanjiro held dear. And as we move further along to the Mugen Train arc, Inosuke cooperates further with the team of Zenitsu, Tanjiro, and Nezuko to take down Lower Moon 1 Enmu. Furthermore, this arc introduces him to the concept of death where he experiences the loss of the flame pillar Kyojiro Rengoku, which I believe is a huge deal when you look at a character like Inosuke. I believe to a character like him who primarily had only concerned himself with the here and now, this came as an absolute shock. It's at this moment where Inosuke understands that life can just be taken from you in an instant, and when your time finally comes, it's important to have those close to you around you during those final moments. Through the trauma and sadness of Rengoku's passing and growing connection with his friends, I believe this serves as a major catalyst and solidifies Inosuke as someone who's eager to get stronger for the sake of his friends around him. And lastly, we jump into Inosuke's final developments during the Infinite Castle arc, which is where I want to spend the large majority of this video. This, without a doubt, is where we see his character absolutely shine. All arcs before this are building up to this moment and I believe is the ultimate climax of Inosuke's character arc, in particular with his fight against Upper Moon 2 Doma. This fight solidifies all the trials, tribulations, and growth he had experienced throughout his entire story thus far. And as mentioned earlier, this puts him directly in line of the past that he neglected or just really didn't care about his entire life. During his fight with Doma, he expresses extreme sadness over the fact that Shinobu had been killed, further showing a level of compassion that he had truly come to care for her. It's not until his boar mask is finally forcibly removed where Doma realizes that he recognizes Inosuke's face from somewhere. And this is where we learn why Inosuke was truly stranded in the forest all those years ago. You see, Inosuke was never left to be raised by boars in the first place, but rather was brought into Doma's cult by his beautiful mother Kotoha as she was escaping an abusive relationship. He denies this until Doma mentions the special pinky promise lullaby she used to sing to a young Inosuke when he was a baby. It wasn't until Kotoha walked in on a Doma who was eating a human when she decided to leave the temple alongside Inosuke. Trapped on a cliff and given no other choice, Kotoha was forced to abandon Inosuke to the wilderness as she suffered a brutal death at the hands of Doma. And upon realizing his origins, it's at this very moment that Inosuke undergoes a massive character transformation. Throughout the entirety of the story, he was always focused on the moment since that's what his instincts had always taught him. But when faced with the harsh reality of his upbringing, this awakens the lost humanity within him. Furious with Doma, Inosuke drops one of the hardest lines in anime where he tells him that if there isn't a hell, he'll create one for him. The reason this pinky promise is such a memorable moment for Inosuke is because it's truly one of the only human connections he's had in his life. It's the first and only time someone is actually concerned about his well-being. You see, Inosuke is childish in the sense that he only recognizes himself and his accomplishments, as is apparent by his braggadocious nature and all the funny lines he drops throughout the story. But this is due to not having any parental figures to show him right from wrong. So when Doma tells him that he's human, Inosuke quickly retorts, telling him that that couldn't be the case. That's because his whole life, the self-perception of himself was that of an animal, let alone a human. And even further beyond this statement, it hides Inosuke's trauma of feeling abandoned by whoever had raised him. But to hear that his mother sacrificed her life to rescue him breaks him from this mindset. Remembering his mother's affection towards him, Inosuke realizes he was never an abandoned child and had someone who deeply cared for him and would do anything to protect him. At long last, Inosuke learned what it meant to be part of a family, to the point where he shed visible tears over the shattering realization. And this is why I absolutely love Inosuke and Kanao's fight against Doma. If you guys like to see an in-depth analysis on this fight particularly, leave a like and comment down below. At the same time, both Kanao and Inosuke are grappling with the deaths of those closest to them, and they're coming together to take on a common enemy. This fight, and even more so Inosuke's entire character journey, teach us that even if everything ends in tragedy, the people and connections you make in life matter and should be cherished no matter what. From a bestial, reckless boy to a fully realized person is such a refreshing and inspiring character arc that I can't help but get emotional at. And this is exactly one of the reasons why I find Inosuke to be one of my favorite characters in the series, and is definitely up there for the title of best boy, no doubt about it. If you guys have some additional thoughts on Inosuke, I'd love to hear what you think of his development in the comment section below. Also, if you like this Demon Slayer content and want to check out more analysis of its wide cast of characters, I would love it if you checked out my playlist right here. As always, thanks to everyone for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one and that you have an amazing day. Stay curious, anime fam. Peace.